Hi, I'm just testing you. Hi, welcome to yet another episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from SiteTraining.co.uk, and another week, another episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV. Let me start by reminding you that this is a show for you. So I can present anything you want regarding Photoshop, Lightroom and Bridge. Okay. This is a weekly video podcast for Lightroom, Photoshop and Bridge users. Now last week we talked about collections in Lightroom. Collections and quick collections. And we also have smart collections. We also have collections and smart collections in Adobe Bridge. So the techniques I'm showing here will apply to Adobe Bridge as well. You'll find them working exactly the same way. You will find them in different places because in Bridge we have a collections panel, but they work in exactly the same way. So this week, let me talk you through smart collections, because last week we talked about collections and quick collections. Now we'll get into smart collections and I'll show you how they work and what the differences are. Okay, and just before we jump into Lightroom, just one more thing. I've got great news. This is our first episode in full HD. Everything is recorded in full HD, including the tutorials. Yes, mostly because I got a brand new laptop with a full HD screen. I'll be talking about this a bit later on. Okay, so let's jump into Lightroom and let me show you the new full HD tutorial on smart collections in Lightroom. Let's have a look at that. Here I am inside Lightroom 3. Last week we talked about collections and quick collections. Just to quickly remind you, you can find quick collections here in the catalog section. Here, I don't have any quick collection at the moment. I've removed the other ones, the ones I created last time. And just remember, you can only have one quick collection within your Lightroom library. Then there's a collections panel here. Going to open the folder I'm going to use, and in here you find smart collections that ship with Lightroom. Just a couple of them already here. For example, there's a smart collection called past month, and all the images that were imported in the last month are included here. 167 images. Actually, I'm sorry, not imported, but the photographs were taken for the past month. Okay, now let's have a look on smart collections. Smart collections are based on certain criteria. For example, I'm going to give the images some star rating and then create a smart collection. Okay. Now if you want to label images, I'm just going to select this image first. I'm going to focus on some landscape shots here. If you go under photo, you can find different labels here. You can set flags. You can also set rating. That's what I'm going to use. So 1 star 1, 5 stars 5, none 0. Okay. Now, with this image selected, for example, I'm going to give it a star rating 2. So I'm just pressing 2 on the keyboard. This one here, I'm just going to skip that. This is beautiful, so I'll press 5 for 5 stars. This one here will be 5 as well. What about this one here? This one's 5. This will be 5 as well. And this one will be 5 as well. That will be 4. This one will be 3. That's very nice. Will be 4 as well. This one will be 5. Let's see what else we have here. Do we have any more landscapes? Got this nice shot here. So I'm going to press 4. Okay, I'll give some images some star rating. Now I'll go into the collections panel. I'll go to these images here. Okay, and I'll click on the plus sign here and then create smart collection. So click on smart collection. What do you want to name it? I'm going to name it, let's say I want to include all the images that have 4 and 5 stars. So I'm going to call it 4 stars plus. There's 4 stars and more, so 4 and 5 stars. Set. No, I don't want to include it in any sets. I'm going to put it straight here within smart collections. But you can create additional sets. We'll be talking about them in later episodes. Now, what I want to match? Rating, that's true, is greater than or equal to, fair enough, and it will be 4 stars. So 4 and 5 star images. you can also add some additional rating. So I click on the plus sign, I could add additional, not rating, additional criteria, and I can set this criteria to anything I want. For example, this could be label color, label text, or camera serial number, or lens. If I want to use just one lens, I could select lens here and then choose what lens. Okay. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So I'm actually going to click on the minus sign. I just want to have all the images with 4 and 5 stars in here. I'll just click create. Now what's happened is Lightroom automatically added 9 images into my smart collection. Automatically. Yeah, they appear here. Now, another thing. Smart collection is automatic. It's going to add images automatically to your collection. Every 4 and 5 star image will automatically appear in your smart collection. Let me show you an example. So I've got 9 images here. Now I'm going to jump back into, let's say I'm going to jump into Crystal Palace folder, and I've got some images here of the flowers. For example, this one here. Now I've got 2 of them. This is beautiful, so I'll press 5 for 5 star. I automatically notice that 4 stars collection now says 10. Let's see what else got here. This one is beautiful, so I'll do 4. Say, and the first one, let's do 4 as well. Good. Now I'll jump into my smart collection, 4 stars plus. I'll press G to access grid view, and now I have 12 images here instead of 9. So there's not much control you have apart from giving star rating to your images. But this is great because you can use the smart collection to create the collection of your best photographs, and every 5-star image would appear here automatically. Okay, I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you for watching. This was a tutorial on smart collections in Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Lightroom. I hope you enjoyed the collections. Remember, collections and smart collections are available in Lightroom and Bridge. Okay, now the next tutorial I have for you will be in Photoshop. Something for a change. We didn't have any Photoshop tutorials last week, so let's do one this week. This will be a tutorial on typography in Photoshop. I'm going to show you how to use certain text techniques using Lightroom. Using Photoshop, sorry. For example, a way to share messages between designers using PSD files. I'm going to open a PSD file that will have some text within it, not on the document, but just within it using the Notes panel, the Notes tool as well. And then we'll add it into our new design. And I'll show you how to warp the text. Okay, so let's have a look. On that, I'll be using Photoshop CS5, but it works with Photoshop CS4, CS3, CS2, any version really. Okie dokie, let's jump into Photoshop. It's Photoshop time! Now let's have a look in Photoshop. I've got this image of the bottle opened, and I want to add text here on the label, on this orange background here. I'm actually going to show you how you can share the messages or text between the designers using the PSD files. But first of all, I want to center this text here. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to use my rulers. If you don't see the rulers, navigate under View and choose Rulers, or press Ctrl R, Command R on a Mac. And now I'm going to change the units of measurements for the rulers from pixels to inches. Here's how you do it. You just right click anywhere on the rulers. I'm going to change it to inches. It will be just easier because the document is 7 inches wide. So to center the text, it will have to be positioned at 3.5 inches center. Now here's what I could do. I could go to the vertical ruler on the left hand side and click and drag to add a guide. But it's quite difficult to position it in exactly 3.5 inch. So I'm going to use a different technique. Just undo, Ctrl Z or Command Z, and go under View and choose New Guide. And then here type in 3.5 IN for inch. Make sure the new guide is vertical and just press OK. Cool. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this text here. I'll show you an example on the label we're going to add here. Just select my text tool, letter T. We're using the horizontal type tool. I'll set the font. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's say Georgia. I'll make that bigger. If I make it centered, black is fine. And I'll just click on the guide here, and I'll just type in the name. And it's automatically centered. I'll accept it, and I'll increase the size of the font. It still stays centered. Great. Now let's add another text layer here. I'm just going to select the blank label first. I've got another file open here, label.psd file. And this file has this little note icon here. This note icon means that someone has a note that wants to share with you. That's how you share it between designers. You can double click on it, and this will open the notes panel with the message. Okay, and the owner, Andrew Faulkner. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight it all, copy the clipboard by right clicking on it and selecting copy, going back into bottle.psd, selecting the blank label layer, and then this time I'm going to click and drag with the text tool to define the text area, and I'll just press Ctrl V to paste it, or Command V on the Mac. Now this is too big, so I'll just accept it in the options bar, and then reduce the size to, let's say, probably something about 14, 12 points. 14 looks really good. Yes, I'll stick with 14 points. Now let me show you how you can add this text that we saw here in the label.psd. It's really simple. If you look in here in the tools panel, you will find a note tool. It's hidden behind the eyedropper or the ruler. You click on it. You can set your name here. So I would type in my name because I made a message. Okay. Color, yellow is fine, and I'll just click here on the page and start typing. That's how simple it is. Might help not to make the mistakes here, so I'll just like that. This is the message from Marek to Adrian. Okay, and when I send it as a PSD file, now remember it has to be a PSD. JPEG doesn't support notes. A designer will see a note, and they can double click on it to open it and read it, or copy the clipboard. And that's how you do it in Photoshop. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk. Okay, welcome back. This was a tutorial in Photoshop on typography, on using text techniques and how to share the text between the designers using PSD files. And that's it for this week's. Make sure you check my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. That's actually the blog. You'll find loads of interesting information. And there's one I want to share with you. This will be a tip of the week, this week's tip. And it won't deal with any keyboard shortcuts or nothing like that. On1 Software has recently announced their new plugin called, what's it called? Perfect Layers. Okay? And it talks about layers in Lightroom. You can use that to import a number of images into one single file with layers into Lightroom. If you're interested, have a look on that. Go to PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, and the post is called Layers in Lightroom. And this is the post from yesterday. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training. And I hope to see you next week on another episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, any tutorials you want me to create for you. And I hope to see you next week. Thank you. Bye bye.